big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Show in America, Sackheads Radio, and listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Shaun and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Dude. Radio. Dude. Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show.
Well, look who it is. And look who it isn't.
And look who it isn't.
It's like interchangeable parts, isn't it? You have one over here, you have one over there.
Hey, wait a second. Is this some kind of sex change joke about the new LGBT XYZ
W
thing? Is that some kind of interchangeable parts
thing? Well, this
some
is
new leftist program that the tax dollars are going to be going for in California.
Yeah, I was going to say this is California, after all.
Yeah,
we have to recognize that
tax dollars. Maybe,
but hey, Sackheads Radio, we're all interchangeable little parts. You know, I'm gone one day, and then you're gone one day, and now it's Sackhead Shaun. Should I tell them why he's actually gone, or should I make something up?
No, well, I think you should tell him why he's gone after we say, welcome to the SHR Media Sackheads Radio Show.
Haven't even done that
yet.
The
22nd of March, 2017. I am your host, Sackhead Clint, sitting with the glorious one, the bloviating Zeppelin. Shaun is out. BZ will tell you why.
Well, like I say, I can tell you the truth, or I could just really lie.
No, tell him the truth, and then we'll lie on top of that.
Okay. The truth is, he's out with a groin pull.
And here, for those of you who don't know Shaun, he pulls his groin often. Like every chance he gets.
That's true, yes.
Yeah,
quite frequently.
Every chance
he gets. For a while I was told.
This is why he wears glasses.
Yeah, well, I think, see, you went and revealed that every photograph that I have of him, when he sees me about to take a photograph, the glasses come off. You don't have a real photograph of Shaun with glasses. Although, as you say, he wears them all the time.
All the time.
Have you ever noticed how thick they are? You could, in the sun, you could fry ants with them.
You can.
Yes, I think he uses them. Hey, if he ever gets stranded on a desert island, that would be a great fire starter, wouldn't it?
It would be a wonderful fire starter. I would love to be stranded on a desert island for Shaun because, number one, you have a built-in fire starter,
right.
And number two, you wouldn't run out of food for a while.
You could nosh on him. Are you trying to say you could nosh on him for days? Wait. Let's be honest. If you could nosh on Shaun for days, then you could nosh on me for, I don't know, a month, 2 months. See, I am good for something.
You are, but
not much.
We're talking about Shaun right now.
Yeah, that's right.
You're here, I'm here, so Shaun is the one that gets thrown down. Now, that was a good... and look, so here's how he pulled his groin, and I don't know if our listeners remember, last time Shaun was out, he was actually at ballet. He's actually a quite gifted dancer. The guy can move. As a matter of fact...
yeah, I've seen videos.
Yeah, he reminds me of... Do you remember the show What's Happening? Do you remember Rerun?
Oh, Rerun, right.
Shaun can dance like Rerun, and he looks a lot like that. Now, if you don't know who Rerun is...
It's sad. Then.
Go to a YouTube, try and pull up Good Times Rerun dance, and that's kind of what Shaun looks like. So Shaun was doing some more, I almost said yoga, but he was doing ballet again. And he was at was he at a performance? I think he was unclear.
I have not seen him do that. You said that he has moves. He has game.
He's got moves like Jagger.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I don't know if this was a performance or if this was just a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal. I don't say dress because he wears a dress. It's called a tutu.
Yeah,
but
that's right. Well,
yeah,
we already talked about that.
We talked about that
at length.
But he pulled a groin, and not in the way he usually does it. Like he's
Now I didn't hear this part. It was different then.
no, he pulled his groin.
Right, but
Yeah.
you said not like he customarily does.
Right, correct. Yeah, he's not at home pulling his groin in the traditional fashion.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Because, after all, there is a traditional fashion in which to pull one's groin. Thank God people are smart enough when they're listening to the show to recognize that what we have stated is truth. It is absolute truth.
So how have you been? How was your week?
Busy. I've been very busy. And for those of you, we actually got rain here in Sacramento.
A lot of it.
We got a lot of it recently. It just really rained like crazy this morning and last night. Day before, there was a little twister that people were saying, look out
Did you
for
say
the
there was a
twister.
nipple twister?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes, and it was up north of us.
With your accent, I can't tell if you said nipple or little.
Okay. Well,
I'm
maybe it was a
sorry.
little nipple.
It might have been. All I heard is in Sacramento we had a nipple twister, and my ears perked up.
That's true.
And so it wasn't supposed to rain this evening. I was going to ride the motorcycle in.
Right. And it's a beautiful one, I might add.
Thank you very much.
And you picked it up for a song.
Yes, literally. I had to serenade this guy.
And look at your bike as a result.
It's amazing.
It is.
Which tells you that he was deaf because I can't sing that well.
I've never heard, so I can't comment on that.
I have I have a deep voice. I have a great radio voice. I have a better radio face. But do you think Shaun's listening right now?
Okay, now I'm going to lie to everyone. First, I told the truth. Now I'm going to lie.
Okay, lie.
He has a temperature of 102 degrees. So,
If that's not true, or if that was true, Shaun would be here, because Shaun's a warrior.
he is.
He's not going to let a little fever let him down.
No, what
Get him
people
down.
don't know about Shaun, and you would never know unless you just happen to know that this is what he does. Shaun is, in fact, a warrior. Underneath his shirt, he wears a harness on his back.
He does.
And in this harness is a machete. Mm-hmm. And if there's ever a call to machete someone, he's got it. So,
Or something, because he does like to eat.
That's true.
Yeah, he does. I once saw him machete a wood pussy.
Now, see you guys say that, and that is so odd to me. I have never heard a skunk called that before until you guys mentioned that. Here.
Big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
On this show. I'd never heard that.
Yeah, hey, look it up. Wood pussy. Stinky wood pussy.
Right.
It's a skunk.
Right.
And it's very it sounds really dirty, and so I don't appreciate what everybody's thinking out there, but it's a dirty.
Yes.
You know, do you think Shaun actually pulled his groin? Do you think he was actually at ballet? Because he's very sensitive about that. Or do you think he was chasing our ambulance chasing attorney? Like, did he actually find out who this guy is and chase the ambulance chaser?
Oh, the other question is, if he was in fact at, say, class, wearing his appropriate garments, what did you call them?
Ballet garments?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
the tutu.
The tutu. Mm-hmm. If he sprained an ankle, wouldn't he be ashamed of that and instead want to claim a groin pull? Which seems to me more manly. Just a thought.
And I'm going to go with that thought. I like that because Shaun is one to want to kind of seem more manly
right.
than he is.
Right.
Like you wouldn't look at him and think that he tucks and tapes.
No, that's absolutely true. That's very true. There are some people listening to the show right now wondering just what the hell it is that you said. I know what you said. I don't know if everyone else does.
And how many are going to try it? Look, so
Okay.
It's 10 after. We're done with that. So some sombering news out of London. London was the victim of a terrorist attack today. And, of course, we make fun of the English on this show quite often, but we do it in a good-natured way because we actually love them. They are our brothers and sisters from across the pond. They had 5 dead, including a police officer in London. I think they had something like 40 additional people injured. It happened outside the Parliament building. This morning, I actually kind of was getting going this morning and came up upon the news. I think the officer was stabbed, and the suspect, I believe, was killed.
Yes, he was. He was killed
in this. Horrible.
I won't name him, but I'll give you 2 guesses. Was he a Muslim?
Yes.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He had a standard British name and then began to claim another name, and neither name is worth mentioning here at this point because of the nature of his act and what he did. Something very interesting about that, there was a British MP who happened to be in the area, and he was performing CPR on the officer after he was stabbed, which I find he was giving him mouth-to-mouth CPR, chest compressions. Unfortunately, the officer didn't make it, but there was an MP, a British MP, which is a member of Parliament, because this occurred directly in front of Parliament.
Mm-hmm. And one of the statements that coming out of England is that armed and unarmed patrols have been stepped up.
Yes, and unfortunately, this historically goes along with much of Britain. That particular officer was unarmed.
Am I the only one to think that is completely asinine?
There are different times. Britain is very cautious with the utilization of firearms. You have to be in a particular assignment in order to have one given to you. More and more, you're seeing them in public at very specific locations.
Didn't they learn their lesson after World War II when they had to beg for firearms? From good-natured American people?
Just as
the right goes back in that country.
Just as we have a gun culture, so to speak, they have a culture of not. And it's something to which they've been acclimated, and over here it's something to which we've been acclimated.
So what happened? Because the right, if you trace it back to British times, it was a right in England. I mean, even the way our founding fathers understood natural law and English law and so forth. So what changed? I never studied this. So what changed in England to where that became the norm? And even after World War II. So this philosophy predates World War II. And after we had to arm them in World War II, when our citizens were donating our own private arms for the people there in case of invasion, and then they destroyed it, and then they went back after Churchill said, "Never again will we be in this position."
All I can do is attribute it to how it's just part of the British culture. I mean, even if you look at old British movies from the 20s and 30s and whatnot, there's the standard Bobby wearing the hat, carrying the baton, and that's as officious as they got with regards to armaments. Whereas us, everyone started at the East Coast, we moved west, there was the phrase of manifest destiny, and it was a wide open space. So we basically encountered our form of what the British had already gone through in the 1200s, for example.
Yeah, but we don't have arms even for that, right? We have it because we don't trust our government. That's the real reason.
People would tell you that's a right-wing philosophy when I and you happen to know that that's true. But a lot of other people who are not so well informed say that really the Second Amendment only exists as a rationale for hunting. And that's absolutely 100% wrong. It exists to protect oneself from one's government. But to even embrace the Second Amendment anymore is to prove that you're a heinous zealot.
Which is bizarre, because you would think that schools would actually teach. All you have to do is read what the founders wrote. It literally is a no-brainer. It is. They tell you in plain English what they meant and why it was important to have those arms. And this terrorist used a vehicle.
Yes.
And ran down several. So a vehicle was one weapon, and an edged weapon was another. It was a knife attack, and he attempted to get into the Parliament building.
But again,
that's where the cop was.
What was this? This is the 1-year anniversary of Brussels.
Yeah. So, but my point is, other weapons are being used other than a gun. The terrorists. You don't need a gun to have a mass casualty incident or to kill significant numbers of people or to kill and maim significant numbers of people.
Unfortunately, what this does is buttress the argument that people make on the right of the Second Amendment. If you were to strip all of the guns, all of the firearms from the United States, as pretty much you've done for the UK and the civilian population at large, people are still going to find a way to kill you and others. People are still going to find ways to commit suicide. People are still going to find ways to do hurt, injure, maim, commit terrorist acts upon other people. It's true in Britain. It's true in the UK. It's true all across the fruited plain of the European Union. And the vehicles that are utilized for this sort of thing, they don't have ready, immediate access to guns. So you can either use what looks like, as far as I can tell, some sort of an SUV today, or you can use a Scania tractor pulling a trailer and mow down people in Germany. You can do that as well. How do you protect against that? Do you put barriers up on every street? Or are you just more cautious now where it is that you have mass events where lots of people attend certain events? This guy came down over the Westminster Bridge. While across the bridge, he literally mowed down pedestrians. Many of them. People went over the bridge and into the Thames to get away. Like you say, 5 people were killed. One of them was that police officer, and the other one was the suspect himself. Once he'd done that, then he smashed into a gate, left the vehicle and walked into a plaza, and began to slash at people with a knife. He didn't have a gun. He had a 1.5-ton automobile, which in and of itself, look, can a vehicle be deadly force? The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Hell yes, it can.
Anything can be deadly force if it's employed in that manner.
And that's what they're choosing to do. That is currently the weapon of choice last year and this year. And it's going to continue to be, because even though you're saying, wonderful leftists, we don't believe in guns. Okay, all right. Take away all the cars then.
Well, look, cars kill more people than guns.
They certainly do.
Every year. Accident, and now they're killing more. Look at this heinous assault car this guy had. What kind of car was it?
Some sort of an SUV.
Do we know? That's an assault car. What do people need that type of vehicle for?
You could make that argument.
I just did.
Don't think that there wouldn't be leftists somewhere, maybe perhaps even on their side of the pond right now, attempting to craft that argument, or even speaking it out loud right now, as insane as it would be.
Well, yes, because if you, a large vehicle can do. What's the purpose of having a vehicle that big? It does nothing but contribute to global warming and can cause so much damage.
Yeah,
and
witness this event, yes.
And transfers so much power in a collision that it's going to injure other people in smaller cars. Why does anybody need a vehicle that big? If you have a family that's too large, well, you're still going to have a large carbon footprint, and you don't need a family that big.
No, why would you? Besides,
so get a small vehicle, have a small family, reduce your carbon footprint, and you won't be able to ram people indiscriminately.
Better yet, just don't get a car. Just don't get a car at all. Well, in this story, in the article here, it's saying it's a 4x4. Attacker mowed down pedestrians on Westminster Bridge in 4x4 before crashing near the gate of the Houses of Parliament. And, the car used to carry out the attack was hired last Thursday, hired meaning rented, last Thursday in Birmingham, according to Newsnight. The terrorist was armed with 2 knives, stabbed a police officer to death. He was PC Palmer, 48, husband, a father. Oh, here we go. The MP, the Member of Parliament, Tobias Elwood, attempted to revive the police officer with CPR.
So the fact that you can rent a vehicle and take it anywhere, this vehicle that's even more deadly than firearms.
I think there should be a rental vehicle clamp.
Yeah. Look, those vehicles kill more people worldwide than the illegal use of guns.
Yes.
And
private ownership
of
vehicles now, should it not be constrained?
Well, it's already registered, as was pointed out in the chat room. But, man, if you take a rented vehicle that's registered to a company, nobody would even know who you are. That's insane. Could you imagine if we had rented guns that you could just take wherever, all willy-nilly?
Oh, that'd be insane. Well, then, as you make, the point that you make is, I think it's, clearly it's past due time to stop the easy rental of automobiles.
Absolutely. And
because as you say, it's like going in, how insane is it to be able to go to Joe's House of Rental Guns and walk up and say, I'd like your finest suppressed MP5, please. And then $45 later, whatever, there you go.
I think it's great.
I think it's
fantastic.
That would be pretty cool.
I would also want to rent the big Suburban 4-wheel drive with the 8-inch lift and the oversized tire. Like, I would want that. That's okay. But we bring this up to make a ridiculous argument to show how ridiculous an argument the gun argument
Could
is.
I get a Browning 50 BMG, please? I've always wanted to file one.
Yeah.
Or a Barrett. How about a Barrett M1 in 50 cal? I want the one with the unilateral scope, please. By the way, speaking of Barrett, Ronnie Barrett, who is the wonderful creator and designer of the Barrett 50 cal rifle, which is a hell of a gun for a sniper rifle. Ronnie Barrett, because
the overpenetration in that is a little much.
Doggone it. Something in front of my face like a bug. Hey, but they're fun to fire. But Ronnie Barrett, for a while they were on SWAT teams all up and down the state of California until Ronnie Barrett said, you know what? Because of the gun laws of the state of California, not only am I not going to be selling any more guns in California, though the state of California didn't tell him that he couldn't.
Right.
But he decided not to because of California gun laws, nor will he service his guns in the state of California. So you don't see SWAT teams with those anymore.
Yep.
Do you? You don't, do you?
What?
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 I think I made my point.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you don't. I think you see 308s, I've heard.
Yes, I've heard that too. Here's the funny thing. I just watched a movie called The Thin... this is going way astern now. I happened to watch a movie called The Thin Red Line about the assault of Guadalcanal by U.S. forces, how the U.S. Army came in to relieve the United States Marines on the island of Guadalcanal. And they were going to take over the Japanese airstrip. The standard issued gun at the time was the M1 Garand.
I have one.
With a wood stock.
Yep.
And compare that gun now to the AR-15 and the M4 or the M16, the older version of that. The M1 Garand was calibered in .30-06.
Yep.
Had an 8-round clip, not a magazine, but an actual honest-to-God clip.
Yep. Boom, 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 boom. Ting.
Ting. Yes. Oh, and I'll get to that in a second. Because those who are devotees of that sort of thing know where I'm going to be going here shortly.
Yes.
But that sucker, GIs had to carry that rifle around. That thing was
And that's
10
heavy.
pounds.
Heavy.
A 10-pound rifle, which is very heavy. Now, the reason that Clint and I are going ha-ha, tee-hee-hee after 8 rounds is, and the Germans and the Japanese found this out very rapidly, and if you watch Saving Private Ryan, that movie emphasizes it quite a bit. At the end of your 8th round, the clip, an actual clip, not a magazine, it was not enclosed, would be discharged from the gun, and when it did so, it would go do that with a ping.
Yep.
And all the Germans and all the Japanese soon learned that when they heard ding, that means they knew you were out of ammunition.
Yep.
That was a good thing for the gun, not a very good thing for the person that was shooting the gun, because it was a clear broadcast, I'm empty.
Yep.
How did I get there? In any event.
Because you were talking about that, and then it went boom, 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 ding.
Yes.
And you said, and your eyes lit up.
Yep. Just a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you listen to Sackheads.
You get the little tidbits of history.
That's right. You get little tidbits of history from Sackhead Shaun, who is not here, who has a groin pole, Sackheads Clint, who knows a great deal about history, and Sackheads fatuous one, myself. Did you know, by the way, in the terrorist attack...
Is that your Sith name?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The Prime Minister, my understanding is, she was actually in Parliament at the time. So this event occurred just outside Parliament, and she was present. She got shuttled away into a nice little silver Jaguar, as the British say.
Jaguar.
Jaguar. And it was said that it's no accident that the terrorist struck in the heart of the capital.
No.
And on this day.
Right. I'm surprised that nobody's claimed responsibility yet. That I'm surprised. We know that lone wolf attacks that ISIS have been calling for has been they've been saying, hey, vehicles, this particularly in the West,
betcha.
Vehicles and knives, right?
Highly encouraged from Inspire magazine, and that's from Al Qaeda, and I can't think of the one that's ISIS inspired. Oh, Dabiq is the one that's inspired by ISIS. And both of those magazines, you can go online and read those if you really want to, by the way.
I wouldn't suggest it. Why give their readership up?
And why have all the little red lights indicate in Maryland and also in Colorado?
Exactly.
Because they will.
Yeah. Oh, who's this? And then you'll be on the no-fly list, and it'll be a mess. And then as you're trying to talk your way out of it, you'll have to. And the government will say, "No, but we saw you click on this," and your answer will have to be. And they'll say, no, we saw this, and you clearly clicked on this link purposefully, and then you'll have to go, no, but really. And they'll say, we're not talking wall issues right now. We're talking about you clicking on Inspire. So just don't do that.
Yes, be prudent. Be prudent. Don't be silly. Don't do what BZ says.
No.
And certainly don't do what BZ does. I eschew everything from BZ. Don't be BZ.
Don't BZ. I don't even know where that goes. How often till we're hit again?
With all the wackiness that's going on in the intelligence agencies right now and all the chaos that's going on in D.C., I'm frankly surprised that it hasn't occurred. You and I both know that there are elements of ISIS already in the continental United States. I've been told that by certain people, and I believe them. Mm-hmm. It will occur again. Mm-hmm. It will be done, I think, in very isolated areas, and I think you're going to see the singularly inspired semi-lone wolf type continue. But they are inspired, and purposely so, by Al-Qaeda and by ISIS. You're going to see them continue.
They're inspired by Inspire. And I kind of piggybacking, and the reason I asked that question is there's a bill that's going right now. We've talked about it before, but it's basically coming through Congress, probably going to end up on Trump's desk for signature, and it's basically going to be reciprocity with other states. If one state issues a concealed weapons permit, other states shall recognize that permit.
I would love to see that. I have doubts.
It's Corinne's Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2017, aimed at allowing legal gun owners to carry their firearms freely between the states without worrying about the conflicting local codes and ordinances. You know what? Good.
I would highly recommend it.
This is absolutely.
I have my doubts.
Look, this is absolutely a federal issue. The Second Amendment is a federal issue. It's not a state issue.
No, but
and carrying it between the states is interstate, and it is
therefore has federal jurisdiction.
Absolutely.
So here's the other thing that I recommend, but people don't take advantage of. All across the United States, there are tons of individuals like me, and everyone knows I haven't made any secret about it. I'm a retired law enforcement officer. So do I carry? Well, I think you have the answer to that already. You have a ready-made cadre of individuals all across the United States, traveling, walking, appearing in public, who, if there was a single bill that would say, you know what, all these retired law enforcement officers and anybody that was a peace officer, an actual trained peace officer, could carry all across the United States as well, because that force already exists.
HR 218.
Some of them exist, some of them carry, some of them choose not to. But already that amount of individuals exist, and they are trained. They have been trained. And have been tested in the crucible of life, so to speak.
You know, interesting. There's that some folks are saying that the proposed law would not supersede state laws. Well, guess what? Yeah, it will.
It would have to.
It would have to, because like California does not recognize other states. Hawaii does not recognize other states. So if you're carrying across state lines and you go from Colorado to California, it would have to supersede that California state law. Look, we're up against a break, folks. I'd love to talk more about this when we get back. A little bit more on this topic. And interesting bombshell from Devin Nunes out of California.
Oh, boy, was there ever.
All this and more on the SHR Media Network Sackheads Radio Show. We'll be back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Shaun.
Dude, I'm not saying Cap was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.dailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, welcome back, Sackheads Radio Show. I'm Sackhead Clint, sitting.
Sackhead BZ and Sackhead. Oh wait, he's not here.
He's not here. Sackhead GP groin pull.
True.
Check it, or Tiny Dancer, as we also like to call him.
Tiny Dancer. he's an Elton John fan, obviously.
Well, he's not, because that's his theme song, but he doesn't really play it.
Tiny Dancer.
I wish I had that right now.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great to have that sucker queued up and then just go boom right to it?
Yes.
That'd be grand.
We need to work on that.
I know. There's so much. I'm researching the board, by the way, because I'm sure there's a ton more things that thing can do that we don't know how to do.
And just so everybody listening has an idea of how scary tonight is, I'm at the board.
Oh, you're going to go where I think you're going to go, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm at the board. I have the power.
Yes.
And I don't know what to do with it. I'm like North Korea right now. Like, I have all this power at my fingertips, but I have no idea what the hell to do with it, because if I hit the wrong button, I'll probably blow myself up.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
Because it's in the mail, and I know it. Next week, when you get here on Wednesday, you know what's going to be on that desk?
What's that?
A lava lamp.
Yes!
I bought one.
Yes!
In the mail. And I got notified by Amazon. It's en route.
Yes!
So next Wednesday, I may even get two. I'm going to put one right on that table where the board is, right there, and maybe another one over here somewhere where you and I customarily sit.
Right there in the V, because we share.
Yeah, exactly.
We share the V.
Yep.
That sounds dirty. You know what I mean?
It does, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It took me a microsecond to understand what you said, but yes, I grokked that concept.
But I didn't mean it like that.
Well, true. Also, sometime in the future, I understand that Shaun is going to wire this thing up for video.
Supposedly, looks, we've done a couple test shows already. My incredible good looks shut one camera down. Either that or it was because I was horrendously ugly, or I turned to the left and my nose knocked it down. Either way, the camera...
Now that's a Shaun joke.
Well, he's not here.
Yeah, that's true.
So I have to make it... And look, if I can't laugh at myself, then really I don't have license to laugh at anybody else or to make fun of them. And since I love making fun of people, by default, I have to make fun of myself.
That's right.
Otherwise, I'm just an a-hole.
That's right. It's called humility.
Yeah. And this way, I'm not an a-hole. I'm just, I'm cheeky.
Cheeky. That's a word that ought to come back. Don't you think? Cheeky.
Yes.
Wow, did you see how cheeky she was at that bar? She rubbed her cheeks
on my cheeks.
Right, exactly. And hence the name Cheeky.
That actually happened.
Or does it mean, is that a female name? Chiqui, Cheeky.
In certain circles.
Hello, I'd like you to meet my strumpet, Cheeky. She's with me just for the night.
I'm pretty sure, that's the name of somebody on those cards you get in Vegas. You know, they slap the cards and they hand you, for a good time, call
Cheeky.
Cheeky. Right? I've heard.
Yes. Yeah.
I've never actually been to Vegas except a couple times. So Devin Nunes out of California.
Boy, did he drop the proverbial political turd in the punch bowl today.
This is your segment.
I mean, did he ever? Lord. Well, first...
well, for the Dems.
Oh, well, the Dems, of course, are howling about this. Devin Nunes happens to be chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Oh, so he doesn't know anything.
No, right. So clearly he has no information on intelligence, nor has he been properly vetted. And I don't know where that came from.
Where did this tin of Hershey's Kisses
I don't
come
know.
from?
I saw that there last week, and then I was tempted to take one last night during my show. Here. Oh, damn it.
Here.
I tried to catch it left-handed, and I don't catch.
Here you go. You can't catch it right-handed either.
I'm 0 for 2.
It's right there. Here, let's do a third. Here goes the third.
Yeah. No, I got it. It's down on the floor.
We're both going to try one of these because if we both die, at least we have...
That's right. If we both die, it will make great radio. And guess what? When we die on the air... You think the ratings are good now for Sackheads? Wait until we die on the air.
Oh, yeah, this one episode will have we'll have like 11 downloads. It'll be amazing.
It'll be absolutely fabulous. AFAB. All right, here we go. Now, let's see.
By the way, that's the first kiss I've ever given you on air.
That is true. That's like the first interracial kiss. Question for everyone listening. Who had the first interracial kiss on television?
Ebony and Ivory.
On what TV show?
Ebony and Ivory. I'm going to say the Jeffersons.
Bueller?
I'm going to say the Jeffersons.
Anyone in chat? I don't see anything. Okay, I'm going to spill then. The first interracial kiss on television occurred in 1966 on Star Trek.
Dave Milner.
Did he get it?
Yes, he did. He had it. It was in before you.
It was on Star Trek between Captain Kirk and Uhura.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think
that had never occurred before.
I don't think the new Spock would like that too much in the new Star Trek series.
No, he'd be a little upset in the new series. Anyway, Devin Nunes dropped one today when he tended to lend credence, if you recall, let's see, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Trump had a big tumult on Friday, and then Saturday, either that Saturday or Sunday, tweeted out that he believed that the Obama administration had wiretapped Trump Tower. Once that tweet came out, the entire community of leftists and Democrats went insane. And
even some Republicans.
Oh, yes. Lindsey Graham, for one. Number one, Lindsey Graham, and, of course, John McCain.
Of course they did.
Were saying, what, really? If that's true, then you need to provide us with the evidence. And then at one point, Donald Trump said, okay, we have the evidence, and we'll be giving it out in, say, a couple of weeks. And even Sean Spicer was saying, yes, we have evidence, and we'll be giving that out in maybe a week or two. And then today, Devin Nunes, chair of the House Intelligence Committee, comes out and said that members of Donald Trump's transition team, maybe even including Donald Trump himself, but that was when he was president-elect, not yet the president, were under surveillance after the presidential election. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, he said, I think he used the word like inadvertent surveillance. So it wasn't, what he was trying to intimate, I think, was that it wasn't purposeful. But purposeful or not, what he was saying is that he's lending credence to Trump, President Trump, who had been saying all along now for at least 2 weeks that he's been tapped. And then there was this massive discussion, back and forth, as to could this occur? Would it have to go through a FISA court? And if it went through a FISA court, then lawfully it shouldn't be occurring at all. There's so many permutations to this thing.
And he called it incidental communication.
Okay, incidental.
Yeah.
All right. And because of this, and you and I were discussing this even before the show, There's an individual that I love to listen to. I love to hear him opine on all sorts of things. Even at Freedom Fest, that was the only speech, the only talk that I went to go see was just down from where our booth was. I went down into that auditorium and caught Judge Napolitano's speech. And I'll tell you what, if you ever have occasion to listen to Judge Napolitano and he actually gets to unwind and speak at length about any given topic instead of just, a sound bite of 30 seconds or so, the man is highly intelligent and quick on his feet. And it's because of that, after that I started listening quite carefully to what Judge Napolitano had to say. However, about 2 weeks ago, which was then emphasized this past Sunday on Fox News Sunday, Judge Napolitano repeated what he'd said about a week and a half prior to that I wrote a post about. And what he said was this: you don't have to go to a FISA court in order to have lines, phones, etc., tapped of a president or anyone. What he was indicating is that he had heard from 3 separate sources, not one, not just Johnson. There's an individual named Johnson. It's so convoluted, I'm just not going to go into the details of it. But
it's funny that you said Johnson, because I just read Ken's comment of you can't catch herpes incidentally, so the fact that he said herpes and you said Johnson is kind of making
it's psychic.
Me giggle.
That's funny because Ken is way over in D.C. And we are way over on the left coast, and yet our minds commingled.
And be careful because his dirty mind is going to give you herpes, apparently.
Ooh. But anyway, Judge Napolitano said that he had 3 separate sources tell him that GCHQ, which is part of an intelligence agency in the UK, was responsible. In other words, the president can ask another agency to conduct wiretapping, surveillance on other people, and it won't necessarily come back to people in the United States. And it's apparently done all the time. In other words, the UK will want information on X. And instead of the UK having to go to the equivalent of a FISA court, they contact the intelligence agency of an aligned nation and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z. Can you, using your surveillance techniques, see if you can get us this information? Because it's conducted sub rosa and it's a lot easier to acquire. So Judge Napolitano was saying that's how the information was acquired on Donald Trump. Because if there's one thing you have to know, any right-thinking individual has to say, how was Michael Flynn's conversation from the Trump Tower caught?
Yep.
It was a conversation over the telephone. Other than holding a digital voice recorder up to the telephone as Michael Flynn is speaking, and we all know that didn't occur. How else would you get that except through a wiretap? And wiretaps, like I've said any number of times now, they're not from movies like they used to be. A guy in a coverall walks into a janitor's closet and opens up a door with all sorts of electronic stuff and has a bunch of alligator clips and a butt set and clips all this stuff together. It doesn't happen. Most phone systems, certainly for the Sheriff's Department, we all went VoIP, which is Voice over Internet Protocol, which means it doesn't go over a phone line anymore. It goes over the Internet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, how does the Internet get to be the Internet? And can anyone access the Internet? If it's on the Internet, if it's digital, it can be hacked, tapped, etc. So, is it beyond human ken to think that somebody did, in fact, capture Michael Flynn's conversations? Yes, of course. The transcripts exist. So, it had to. He had to have been wiretapped. Purposely. Then they had information about Trump speaking to the Mexican president. And the information came out that the Mexican president disagreed with a lot of things. But how did they get that conversation over the telephone? Tapping. Then there was the information about President Trump speaking to PM Australian's Prime Minister Turnbull. And that they had a blow-up over the telephone. Well, how do you get that too? A tap. So, we know Michael Flynn's information was in fact tapped. So when people say, no, wiretapping doesn't exist, bullshit. Of course it does.
And not only that, but the information that was obtained Michael Flynn's name should have never come out. Now, I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not defending anything. I'm just saying that the fact that his name came out is a violation.
That's another.
And what other names are out there?
Yes. Well, here, maybe people don't know what FISA stands for and what a FISA court is supposed to do. FISA stands for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which means that we have the ability, if you go into a FISA, basically everything in a FISA court is secret. So I, as some kind of an intelligence representative from some kind of an alphabet agency, go into the FISA court and petition the court for a warrant to tap X. And I get that information. And then I look at that, and because it's secret, I'm looking to, let's say, theoretically, I want all the information and all the phone intercepts that I can find on Sultan, Sheikh Yabuti. So if I want all the foreign intercepts that I can discover, the telephone calls of Sheikh Yabuti, then once I acquire that take, if he happened to call in the meantime, or someone else called who is an American, called him, and there was a conversation between the two, when I get that information, and intel information is called take, when I get that take back, then I have to mask all the names of the American citizens that I acquired. There's masking and unmasking. So when I mask a name, theoretically, all the other people who see that take should not be seeing those names. There are a limited number of people who can unmask names. But the intent of the FISA court is if you acquire information in which Americans are involved in some fashion, those Americans' names, because of privacy concerns, those Americans' names should not be revealed. So in a FISA court, that's the purpose of it. You go in, your petition is examined, and it's either granted or it's not granted. I hope that made sense to everyone. But you don't even have to do that. Judge Napolitano was saying, you don't need
not
to
if you get a foreign
You don't need
entity.
to go into a FISA court. And if you have a halfway decent hacker, a series of hackers, and the government has them, trust me, if you have access to the internet, you can do that. You don't need to go into a FISA court. And people saying, intimating that it has to be done lawfully and only through a FISA. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But Devin Nunes then came out today and started to say that it looks like I have information which would lead a reasonable person to conclude that we acquired information from Trump, his campaign staff, in other words. It was come across, and the intimation was that it came across perhaps in a FISA fashion, and that we found American names in here. So the question then becomes, they got unmasked. How did they get unmasked? And furthermore, who unmasked them? Also, why?
And Comey was a little bit.
I'm going to go into Comey's his speech and the
Next
questions. No, tomorrow. I have the entire testimony, and let me
let's
summarize
now. I mean, not showbizzing your show, but it's absolutely germane to our conversation here now, because there was a statement made by Nunes. He was going to tell. He told Paul Ryan in earlier today, and then he was going to tell the president later this afternoon. He said the NSA had been, quote, very helpful, and was unsure if the FBI was going to comply.
Oh, that's God. Clint, this is so intermeshed, and it requires a scientist to pull it all apart. I also have another blog post coming out tomorrow about the FBI indicating that it doesn't appear as though they are going to cooperate with the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about Comey and his little speech, his stump speech, essentially, that he gave on Monday, a lot of people were saying, what Comey said was, there's no there. Well, if you listen very carefully, and I'm going to go into it, I'm going to rip him a new arsehole. Because I have listened very carefully to what he said, and what he didn't say is equally important. And he made a startling revelation. And there's a brand new freshman member of Congress, a female, who she told Comey a new arsehole. And no one has heard of this. I went through the whole thing. She made a startling revelation. Then Trey Gowdy went through bullet point by bullet point, naming name after name after name, and the intimation was, as he's addressing this to James Comey, he was ticking off the names of the people that he believed unmasked the names of Americans, i.e., and Trey Gowdy was saying, an unnamed American. Well, the unnamed American, who was that? Michael Flynn. It all dovetails together. There's much more there. Comey prevaricated and danced and sidestepped like I haven't seen a director do in quite some time. My director, heathen that he was nothing like this man. I said on Ken McClinton's show, the power that the FBI director has, and I'm sorry if I'm showbizzing the hell out of you, Clint, if you want to step in and say whatever you're saying, but I'm just...
No, go ahead. I'm listening. You're making the exact points, which is why I wanted to ask this question again.
I could readily make the argument that in no other time have I seen an individual, an FBI director, with as much power as James Comey. And he came out of left field. He was initially looked upon when he was a U.S. He went some... Anyway, he has a reputation. All these thoughts are cascading around in my wheelhouse, and I'm trying to sort them all out because my brain is going 75 different directions. He came into the public sector, specifically as FBI director, with a reputation that preceded him for quite some distance. And his reputation was he was a sterling individual, as honest as the day is long, which is one of the reasons that he got appointed. When you appoint an FBI director, it's for a time of 10 years. And so when he walked into the fourth floor office on the corner, it's a really beautiful office, he changed. And he became a man who understood and began to manipulate and utilize the power that was granted to him. And now he's done, in my opinion, a complete 180. He has more power than J. Edgar Hoover in 48 years of his run. James Comey has more power than J. Edgar Hoover could ever have amassed because of technology in the digital age. If it's digitized, you can get it, you can find it, you can hoard it. J. Edgar Hoover was an information hoarder. He kept all the files close to himself. James Comey knows all, sees all, and wants to use it for his political convenience. That's the best summary of James Comey that I can make.
And you're not far off, but in dealing with this issue, he didn't really come out and say anything.
What he didn't say
was important.
Was very important.
Yes.
And how he used wiggle words to avoid... I had a soundbite that I played on the show yesterday from Newt Gingrich, who was essentially saying the same thing. He verbally tap danced around everything that people were trying to ask him about. And he was attempting to be very coy. One of the biggest things one of the biggest mistakes that he made, and to me it was glaringly obvious, but proves his motivations, he had no problem and said up front that the DOJ had given him permission to state that there was an investigation of Trump and Russia. And so he got in front of Gowdy and everyone in that particular session and had no problem with saying he's investigating Trump because of the Russian accusations, when in fact the real meat of the issue is not with Trump or Russians, because historically, again and again, it's been proven there is no there, and I know we're getting close on time, so I'll make a final sentence. But what he wouldn't say, which is even more important, is he would not admit that there's an investigation of the leaks, which are tearing this nation apart.
Which tells me that there is.
There is.
There has to be.
There are numerous. And everyone knows it, and he couldn't say it and wouldn't say it.
But why?
It's politicized. It's politicized.
Why wouldn't he say it?
It's politicized.
What does he lose or gain by admitting that there's an ongoing investigation? Even the suspects have to know there's an investigation. It's not like you're worried about tipping them off because they're going to go into hiding. They already know that there's an investigation just by the nature of the act.
Here's what I consider to be
And is the Clinton issue dead? Or is it somehow linked?
That's I'm going to ask this final question before we go on the break. Do you, Clint, and anyone listening, live or in podcast, do you have ultimate confidence that these leakers will be found? Let's take a break and let's chat about that when we come back.
When we come back, more on this and answer to the BZ's question, do we have confidence? Why you gotta leave it like that? That's just so messed up, BZ. I can't even believe that.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Shaun from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Shaun.
Dude, I'm not saying capitalist, stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Shaun, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Boy, did we just have a discussion.
Oh, we did. And it was all off air.
Yes. We had a chat.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. So I posed the question again, and I'm guessing in the past 2.5 minutes or so, people have been...
I want to fill people in on our chat.
Well, let's. I'm not in chat. Let me go over to chat.
No, I want to fill people in on our chat.
But I want to ask people in chat...
On our chat?
On our chat.
Our chat we just had? Or
no, in the chat room.
Why are you so confusing right now?
I know, I'm very confusing. It's the LSD. I picked the damnedest day to stop doing LSD.
You mean to start again?
Oh, no, stopping it.
No, you had a flashback from when you stopped last time. You've been using
that's
it for
true.
a while.
All right. The question I asked is, do we have the political wherewithal to determine that we're going to find the leakers?
No.
I don't think we do.
No.
I don't think we do.
No, I agree with you. I don't think we do.
And as a corollary to that, people are saying, well, look, it took 30 years to identify Deep Throat. Yeah, that was then. This is now. That was 70s technology. It's 2000s technology now. And everything digital leaves a footprint.
It is. And look, everybody knew who Deep Throat was. They titled a movie after her.
Right. Linda Lovelace.
Right. I mean...
By the way, did you know that Linda Lovelace's grandmother went down on the Titanic? Just a question, that's all. Historically speaking, I throw in these little historic tidbits now and then.
Right now, is that true?
I don't know. Is it physically possible?
She would have. Of course.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And you said you didn't make it as a statement of fact.
Right.
Debbie does Deep Throat. Ken, you're dirty. We're not even talking about that.
Oh, hey, look at the people we have in chat.
Of course, yeah, the chat lights up when we start talking about...
Yeah, no kidding. We have Kel, Fritzy, we have Mary Brockman, Kenneth McClinton, Sir Kenneth McClinton is already in there, Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, who actually is. We have guests...
Wait, who actually is pleasant, or who actually is unpleasant, or who actually is blind? There's a few different ways
well, he is
that
blind,
can be interpreted.
legally speaking,
Okay.
and instead of unpleasant, he's actually quite pleasant.
So
that's sort of an oxymoron.
Well, if it was a
How many oxys does it take to fill a moron? I've always wondered.
One. Just one.
We have guest 5, and we have guest 9839, and...
Where's the other 9,834
That was my question. Where else did they go? Are they listening covertly?
They're all government agents.
9,000 people listening to chat. God, that'd be great. Like I said, if we, after I ate this, if we both cacked on air, think of the ratings this show would get. It'd be absolutely grand. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
We'd rival Playboy Radio.
Oh, boy, would it ever.
Or Vivid Radio, or whatever the hell kind of radio's out there.
So you wanted to talk about what we spoke about during the break.
Yeah.
What did we talk about, Clint?
We talked about Comey. And whose side is he really on? Or is he really on a side? Is he really neutral?
Well, folks listening, what do you think? What do you think of James Comey? I've set out my opinions and the reasons for my opinions. And I think Clint and I summarized it for Clint in this fashion. Clint asked, well, then, Is Comey for Trump? I said, no. Is Comey for the Democrats? I said, no. Comey is for Comey. Comey exists because he's sitting atop a mass of information, and he gets to be clever by half. Just as Newt Gingrich, I believe, said yesterday, Comey is way too clever for that particular job, which he gets to do because of technology. Technology has changed everything in politics and intelligence. There are 4 aspects, for people that don't know this, there are 4 aspects in intelligence, in the intelligence community. There's ELINT, COMINT, SIGINT, and HUMINT. And what that means is ELINT is electronic intelligence. COMINT is communications intelligence. SIGINT is signals intelligence. And HUMINT is human intelligence. Over the years, we've relied on electronics for our intelligence when, in fact, some of the best intelligence is acquired on the ground. And historically, the CIA, up until recently, has been absolutely terrible with HUMINT, because we were told that we couldn't send people into various nations, etc. The problems that we had with Casey, it's just, the problem is he is a hoarder of information, and in my opinion, he needs to be removed today, immediately, as soon as possible. He's not going to do any favors for Trump. And he's not going to do any favors for the Democrats. The Democrats already found that out.
Yeah, but he kind of has, right? Twice.
In a way.
Twice.
But in my opinion, Clint, he's done that to avoid crap coming back onto him. He would go in one direction, discover that wasn't doing much for him, backtracked and went another direction. And then discover, when he first came into the FBI, because I still talk to people, people would talk to him. After he made that particular decision with regard to no indictment, no grand jury, and Loretta Lynch as AG was more than happy to let him take the spear in the heart for that decision, because she said, I'll let James Comey make that decision. And the decision he made was no recommendations of any prosecution, grand jury, indictment of Hillary Clinton, when in fact he had all the tools necessary to do exactly that. Once he made that decision, it hurt him, because people that were once personal friends, and this is coming from people that I've spoken to, people that used to say hello to him on the floors don't say hello to him anymore. People that used to greet him in the cafeteria and people that used to have conversations with him don't do that anymore. His wife at home was saying, I don't understand the decision you make, and it's affecting our social lives. So there are consequences to this. He's paying the consequences, and he doesn't seem to much care. But he's changed. He's a political animal. And people who once had confidence and trust in him don't trust him anymore.
No, but they don't trust him on both sides.
True. He's proven that he is eminently untrustworthy by anyone.
Right. And therefore,
he works for himself.
And therefore, he has no ability, in my opinion, to lead an organization, particularly a federal law enforcement organization. He has no ability to have credibility, in my opinion, in front of Congress or to the American people. And for those reasons, he should be asked to leave.
When, after tomorrow's show, if anyone doubts any of the things that I've just said about Comey, because I'm going to rip his dialogue apart and expose him. I'm not the only one doing it. Trey Gowdy, miraculous. This other newbie freshman female that skewered him, fabulous. And there are reasons for all of this. There's also
but he's still there.
He is still there because no one has insisted that he leave. The FBI director is a political appointee that doesn't have to run through Congress.
Right.
Okay? So
but he relies on Congress for funding.
He doesn't have to be grilled like Gorsuch.
Which we'll get into here in a minute.
And I almost wanted to showbiz myself on that for a while, but yeah, we will get into Judge Gorsuch. But once I lay out the argument, I'm also... there's another little tidbit that came out that Jason Chaffetz had that I'm going to be referring to tomorrow, and I'm not going to leak it here and showbiz my own show. Jason Chaffetz had one of the assistant directors for the FBI in front of his committee. It's an oversight committee with regard to privacy. And when you see the astounding degree to which a representative of the FBI will not answer a sitting member of Congress and is offended by him stating the obvious, it will make you sick. With this kind of a portrayal, this kind of an action, how do we expect to get anything done in D.C.? And government wonders why it's at its lowest ranking ever. It deserves every bit of disdain it gets. And I'm going to play that. It's such an insightful conversation between an assistant FBI director and a sitting member of Congress. I can't wait to play it. I haven't heard a thing about this on television, on any of the news networks. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm going to end up playing the bulk of it with some salient comments in between. My confidence in the government is at its absolute lowest. I am so disappointed in law enforcement. I'm so disappointed in the DOJ. I'm so disappointed in the FBI. If we don't have confidence in these two bastions of law enforcement, how can we have confidence that this government can be handled?
We can't. We've said that over and over again. This is law enforcement is not a federal issue. Law enforcement is a state issue. I don't believe the FBI is a constitutional organization. Does that mean I'm going to defy the FBI? It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't believe they are a constitutional organization. I don't believe they have a legitimate purpose.
Well, who had a hand in its creation?
Yeah. It's not intelligence. There's agencies for that. It's not the protection of elected officials. There's agencies for that. It's not the hunting of fugitives. There's agencies for that. If you want to investigate federal crimes, then utilize the appropriate federal agency. If it's Treasury, you have an organization for that. The same people who protect the president. You talked about the startup of the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover himself, and
who was a brilliant individual who saw a need, acknowledged a vacuum in government, and took advantage of it.
And that's the thing. He exploited it.
Precisely.
He exploited it.
He was an information hoarder.
Yes.
And an expansionist of his own personal powers, to wit, James Comey.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, how many three-letter federal organizations are redundant? I'm pretty sure you have the Department of Redundancy department redundant. And
we have a DIA.
And they have cops.
We have a DIA. Right.
Yeah, we have
that's the Defense Intelligence Agency, which duplicates on a military level everything that's already occurring in a civilianized fashion. Well, that the NSA, the head of the NSA, is always a what? A military individual. Right now it happens to be an admiral. Before it was a general and other admirals.
You also have the CIA.
Yes.
You also have the
military.
You also have the FBI counterintelligence.
The military is already injected. It is written into the intelligence community. The DIA is just one portion of it. But it's all about building empires. J. Edgar Hoover built his. All the other intelligence agencies built theirs. One of the biggest things that I took umbrage with about George Bush was the creation of Homeland Security.
Yes.
Why did you have to do that? Because now you've built and enabled another monster. Once you create a federal government monster, it's not going away.
Yes.
Homeland Security is the most worthless agency that I can think of who justified its continuing existence by bringing all the other agencies under its aegis, under its umbrella.
And you know what's happening here in California? California OES.
Yes.
Office of Emergency Services. Yep. Same thing is happening at the state level. Look, I think Comey,
but it's paid. You know it's paid. OES is paid.
Yeah, they are. I think Comey is. I think Comey sold his soul, but I don't know where he goes from here. I know your statement is Comey is all about Comey. Okay, but when you've pissed everybody off, where do you go? Is he pissing everybody off to set himself up for a presidential run? Because people don't like groups on either side? So he can set himself up for a run of, hey, look, I took on Hillary. There was really nothing there. I took on Trump. I took on this. I took on that. I pissed everybody off. Look, everybody hates me because I was doing the right thing I was doing. Is he setting himself up for that?
You make, Clint, a very insightful observation, because I was just going to say, and you sort of went around and said it in an oblique version, is Comey has alternately pissed off the left and the right
and the middle
and the left and the right. He can make an argument that I have no real allegiance to much of anyone. Well, that would be correct. That would be absolutely correct. But then you do have to wonder. He's a young man, relatively speaking. I think he's in his early 50s. So politically speaking, he's an infant. He's got many years ahead of him. So that does make you wonder, where is he going to go from here? Because he knows where all the bodies are buried. All of them. And what placement in the United States government would better yield the knowledge of where all the political bodies are buried than FBI director in today's digital technology? You know a little about everything and everyone.
Yep. J. Edgar Hoover.
And when I play this interview, it should have been an interrogation by Jason Chaffetz of this assistant director. You'll begin to understand the massive implications of what the FBI is attempting to do. You think you don't have privacy now? Just wait.
Well, I don't think I have privacy now, so do I still have to wait?
Till tomorrow.
Really?
I can't showbiz myself.
I'm not going to showbiz the bees. Oh, we can talk at the break. We're not up against a break yet.
No, I was just looking at my clock. You know what we haven't talked about, though?
We haven't talked about Hawaii.
Right.
And the judge there. I know we only have a few minutes left, but we talked about the terror attack in London, and Trump's major priority is immigration here in the U.S. because he believes that's going to help make us safer, and I tend to believe him because it makes complete sense, and we've talked about that here on our show before. So Trump issues another executive order, which he has the lawful authority to do in this case. There is a specific federal... And wait a second. Have I railed against executive orders in the past? Absolutely.
Yes.
When they have force of law. 100% I have.
Yep.
I admit it. Democrats and Republicans. But an executive order that gives direction to an executive agency and does not establish a rule of law is a different story. So and the federal code gives the President of the United States the legal authority to do what he is attempting to do.
8 U.S.C. 1937.
And so he issues another executive order, kind of refines it, and a judge in Hawaii.
I should tell you up front, before you go a little bit further, that my show last night, the bulk of it, at least an hour, was myself and White Mamba talking about this and Judge Watson in Hawaii.
Why's it got to be a White Mamba?
At length. White Mamba's an attorney. He's in chat right now.
Why's it got to be White Mamba, though?
Is he in chat? No, I'm sorry. White Mamba's not in chat. But he's customarily in chat, usually in Ken's chat and sometimes here. And as an attorney, we spoke at length about it last night. And I can make an excellent summary, but I'd be very, very curious about your take on it.
You just confused me. And that doesn't happen very often. So you and Mama spent an hour talking about this last night?
Yep.
Well, never mind. Now I'm just going to shut up.
No, I want to know what you think. I want to know if you're going to come to the conclusion that I did.
So I think that the judge used Trump's campaign rhetoric to substantiate his personal belief of the...
You're looking at the same damn bug that was trying to bomb me over here.
Of the travel ban. And he failed to look at the rule of law, which is what a judge is supposed to do. And
exactly.
I love Gorsuch for what he was saying in front of Congress, but we'll get into that next segment. I think that he failed to look at the law and apply it to how the executive order was written. And he applied it so broad instead of just saying, hey, how this affects this one particular area, he broadened it to encompass everything, which I don't think he has jurisdiction to do. Put it on a nationwide level. When has a judge ever had the authority to interpret the law not based on the evidence presented, but based on personal knowledge of hearsay?
Correct.
Statements made outside of court, not under oath.
Absolutely.
And on the campaign trail.
Absolutely. You are coming to the same conclusion. We spent an hour going into minutia where White Mamba concluded essentially that a federal judge can do whatever he or she wishes to do under the umbrella of federal power because no one is stopping them. And he essentially said that it's going to take the Supreme Court. It's going to go to the Ninth Circuit first.
Well, gee, I wonder how they're going to rule.
5 judges of the Ninth Circuit already said that the first Trump travel ban should have not been enforced.
Yeah, 5 out of how many? It's kind of a pool, right?
Well, yeah.
It's a crapshoot of who you're going to get.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
And now you have the California state judge, the Chief Justice of the California State Court, who came out and spoke out against Trump's executive order. Stay the hell out of it. It doesn't concern you, lowly state Supreme Court justice.
Well, number one, you have to have standing.
It has nothing to... Yeah, this is a federal issue. Shut your mouth and let the big boys and girls chat.
But essentially what occurred is...
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a while.
You should. I did.
Because why is a state judge issuing an opinion or making public statements that are politically charged about an issue that is not even before their court? That may be a portion of it. Why? How is that ethical? Why is this judge out there making these statements? Have you ever seen this before?
A leftist would tell you that it's incumbent upon judges to be politically active. And that's what this Hawaiian judge did. This Hawaiian judge, in my opinion, drew a conclusion not upon the papers that were presented to him in front of his face, but instead upon words that were stated by a presidential candidate outside of the realm of the issue at hand. And he's using words made by that candidate and other affiliates as a reason to wash away the document that was placed in front of him. In other words, he's not limiting the scope of his opinion to the papers on the petition.
Right.
He's expanding the scope of the argument, and to a degree, not really even much considering what's before him.
Right, including the law.
Yes. However, I go back to the other statement. He's a federal judge. And who is to oppose him? The ninth could, but the ultimate arbiter of that will be SCOTUS.
I have one thing to add on that. You know who could fight that judge? Congress, through articles of impeachment. Federal judges can be impeached.
That's correct.
And if this judge is not only being a political activist, but is engaging in legislating from the bench or in working outside of their scope, and if it can be proved or alleged that this judge has conducted some sort of violation, articles of impeachment can be brought.
True, but
ethical violations can be brought, including sanctions against this judge from the bar.
We're at the break, but I would throw this back to you as a response. The GOP holds the presidency, the House, the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Historically speaking, and currently now, we cannot all unite even behind a medical bill. What makes anyone think that the GOP is not going to continue to be the timorous paramecium invertebrates that they were before? Because history proves what has occurred in the past will occur in the future. That's my response to you.
No. I'm not saying it's going to happen or that. There's no way.
You're saying that it should, and I completely agree.
Right, I'm saying that it should, it could, or maybe not even that it should, but I'm saying that it can. A judge can have impeachment articles brought, but I mean that's another layer of check. It would never happen, even in cases where maybe that should be the case. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that this is one of those, but you bring up a good point about the Republicans having everything. Look, the Republicans skewered the Democrats when they had everything and accomplished nothing but health care. The Republicans are 18 short months away from being in the exact same boat in the next midterm elections.
Oh boy. What happens?
They're not careful.
What happens in the midterms? You lose the Senate.
Yes.
Holy shit.
And guess what you're going to lose? You are going to lose the Senate. You better get some shit done.
Let me tell you another thing. This is
including the next Supreme Court justices.
You just hit it. This is inside baseball. I have information to lead one to conclude that this summer there's going to be another SCOTUS vacancy. You see if I'm right.
I have no doubt. We're up against a break. When we come back, we do want to get to the Gorsuch hearings. All this and more on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Shaun.
Dude, I'm not saying Captain is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.dailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show.
This has been much more the engaging show. Is it because Shaun's not here? I can't say that, can I?
No, you can. Look, when Shaun's not here, we have very intelligent conversation. When Shaun is here, we have potty humor.
Don't forget racist humor.
And racist humor. Look, just for all of our guests out there, I would like to make a point. We have not engaged in any racist or racial remarks because Shaun is not here.
Well, and I'd like to point out that's why Ken McClinton is still in chat.
And not sleeping.
No, he's wide awake.
Right, because Shaun's not here to keep
to call him
down.
2/3 of a man.
Right, how sad.
That is.
How sad. Makes me so sad.
Don't think I'm not going to listen to this show at the end. Oh, by the way, I'm going to post this. You don't have to worry about posting it. I'll post it.
Perfect. Because I don't know how to do that. I'd like to try. Shaun told me post the show one time. I was like, I had some thumbtacks in the monitor. I'm like, what
why'd you destroy the monitor?
Yeah.
With a thumbtack in the middle.
Look, these thumbtack, it doesn't hold. Easy. I mean, Shaun's going to have to do it. I don't know. Maybe he uses a nail.
See, Ken just said in chat, thank you for raising my self-esteem, gentlemen.
Ken, you are welcome.
Ken is listening. Don't think he's not listening because he is.
I don't, and I know he's very intelligent, unlike Shaun, who doesn't because he judges a book by its cover. And Ken, your cover is sexy as you want to be.
Ba-boom. Bada bing, bada boom. I can't wait to see Ken at Freedom Fest.
I can't either. I can't wait to see all of our friends at Freedom Fest.
Because I tell you what, going to Freedom Fest, folks, if you haven't been to a Freedom Fest, you should go this year. Myself, I met everybody last year at Freedom Fest in July. Met Ken, yourself. God, we met George Foreman. We met Forbes, Judge Napolitano. We met, who else did we? We drank with Forbes. had bourbon with him. Shaun poured him a nice, clean glass of bourbon. And we just had a great damn time. It really was cool. Talked to a lot of people. But we were talking about Gorsuch.
And we were talking at the break about it, and it was a great I almost wish we would have saved it for the show. But the man is brilliant. When he was confirmed as an appellate judge, I said I thought he was damn near unanimous, and you said he was unanimous. So Obama wouldn't vote against him. Boxer,
no,
Feinstein
Obama did not vote against Judge Gorsuch. What does that tell you about him?
So
the LSD is getting to you because, folks, you can't see it. Clint is grabbing at flies and bugs in front of him that aren't there. So you picked a bad day to not take that little paper hit of LSD. What color is my hair? First I have to have hair.
Yeah, purple. It's purple. So, how do you, if everybody voted for him last time, I don't care if there's members who weren't there when he was confirmed as an appellate judge. The fact that no Democrats, or maybe one who, let's say a couple. But if he was unanimous, no Democrats, including the bastions of liberal, feminists, and progressivists,
heavy hitters,
nobody voted against him.
The heavy hitters all went along with him.
So how do you vote against him now? And
easy politics.
Exactly, but they're going to look like
it's payback from Merrick Garland.
Yes.
It's also that it is payback.
It is, but they're going to look like complete asses on that. They're going to look like complete asses because how do you pass an appellate judge unanimously, and then when he's up for the Supreme Court, you fight and you vote against? It's ridiculous. But you brought up an interesting point, and by the way, watching the hearings and how Judge Gorsuch conducts himself, how he answers the questions, the way he interacts with the members is the man is brilliant.
He had in a portion of the hearing, he had everyone, and I mean everyone, including all the photographers and all the extraneous personnel in the room, eating out of his hand and all laughing. Mm-hmm. When one person said, How can you possibly be in here for 11 hours? And he said, oh, yes, and not go to the bathroom once. He says, I tend to have a judge's bladder. Everyone went nuts over that. The guy has humility. He made everyone laugh. Go ahead and try to shoot this guy down. It's not going to happen, even though they tried. Dianne Feinstein asked him when he was a Bush administration Justice Department official in 2005. He'd scribbled, this is how it was quantified, he scribbled yes on a document beside a question about whether CIA torture of terrorism suspects had yielded valuable intelligence. Okay. I think it probably has. That's all Dianne Feinstein had. Really? That's all you've got? And then Leahy, who is the ultimate, the consummate leftist from Vermont, was trying to get Gorsuch to say whether a president has constitutional powers to lawfully override torture and wiretap statutes. And Gorsuch, his reply was that he'd approach a case like that using analysis set out when Truman tried to seize steel mills. And so if you listen to this stuff, he has an answer for everything, as you would hope a candidate would. But Democrats would quantify him as being coy when, in fact, he was being truthful. They're trying to pin him down and have him rule on incidents from events not set down before him. And he continuously tried to say, I will be an applicator of the law. Mm-hmm. And that's not what Democrats want. They state, they insist.
They want an ideologue.
That the Constitution is a fluid document and that the Bill of Rights are equally fluid.
Yep.
And they're not.
No.
They're just not. And people would say, well, with today's technology, no one in the 1700s could possibly have anticipated the way that this country would go now. And that's bullshit. You can still use the precepts of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights because there are still fundamental issues that go far beyond technology and back to humans. And essentially, everything that Gorsuch was saying is, I'm not going to make law because that's not my job. My job is to interpret the law. And they want lawmakers.
But here's why the left has to be very, 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 very careful on how they proceed with Judge Gorsuch. You made this point earlier, and I want to make it now. It was a topic of discussion between you and I while we were on the break. If the Democrats filibuster Neil Gorsuch, who passed unanimously, who has opinions championed by the right as well as some on the left.
Yes.
He applies the law. He's very, very, very respected. If they use their political capital now by filibustering Neil Gorsuch, the Republicans are probably going to remove that rule, use the nuclear option, just as Harry Reid did.
Exactly.
And guess what happens for the next Supreme Court nominee, which you hinted at before the break as there being a potential second vacancy come summer.
Yes.
You meaning the Democrats, just screwed yourself.
You're using all your ammunition
now
for someone who's essentially bulletproof.
Yes.
Okay, Byron Whizzer White was approved in about 4 or 5 hours when he had hearings. This is Judge Neil Gorsuch's of the 10th District. This is his 3rd day. But if you look as a human being, if you look at the hearings as they began on Monday and as they occurred on Tuesday and today, you can tell it's palpable by just feeling the vibes in that room. All the shit they're trying to throw at him is splattering off, and it's not going anywhere. And this is winding down. Al Franken tried to pin him down. I played a cut on the show last night about Al Franken. He is so much more, has so much more integrity and wit and sharpness than Al Franken. It's not even remotely funny. Al Franken
was never funny.
Al Franken did his very level best to try to bait. You're going to try to bait this guy? This guy will run all over you all day and all night. So these hearings, he's in. Here's what I think is going to happen. He's going to get approved, and there will be no filibuster. Unless someone in the Democrat Party somehow manages to convince the rest that they're going to go there, and they will forever regret that decision if they make it. Therefore, I think smarter, cooler heads will prevail, and the Democrats are not going to insist on a filibuster.
I kind of hope they do.
In a way, I do too.
I really do.
But
I hope that they I hope they're so pissed off at Trump and that they're so blind over Obama's nominee, and rightfully so. Look, the Senate should have held hearings. They didn't have to vote for anybody. They didn't have to confirm anybody, but they should have done their jobs and held the hearings. That's my own 2 cents worth. That being said, some Democrats are so pissed off over that. Couple that over Judge Merrick Garland. Couple that with how pissed off they are about Trump getting in there. It's very possible that they expend all their ammunition in this filibuster. Gorsuch gets in anyways, and then they're hosed for the next.
Here's one of the reasons that I think that they've tempered themselves just a little bit. I was absolutely sure that they were going to install as DNC chair Keith Ellison. They didn't pull that trigger because there were already people on the Democrat side saying, if you install Keith Ellison in there, we're leaving the Democrat Party. One of them was Alan Dershowitz. When you have a high-powered individual and an allegiant of the left tell you this, that's called a clue, which leads me to tend to believe they're not going to pull that trigger this time. Do they have, I mean, if I've heard rumblings about this summer, then I'm sure everyone in D.C. has heard something like that. So they ought to be getting their little heads together and deciding that we'll put up a big verbal front and a brouhaha, but behind the scenes, we'll save it. We'll save it for this summer. We'll save it for whoever is next. You're going to get one. You're going to get Gorsuch. Now it's going to go 5-4, just like it did again. But if you get one more who is an actual conservative, then now you're kind of moving to a 6-3. And if you go there, you're owned. With this caveat, there is no certainty that any judge appointed by anyone is going to stay what you think they are. In other words, for the most part, when you put somebody in like Sotomayor or Kagan, you know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. When you put in Anthony Kennedy under Reagan, what did you get? When you put in John Roberts, what did you get? So these people, when Gorsuch says that he's going to decide on an individual level and an individual basis, I believe him. Mm-hmm. Because these SCOTUS judges, even though you attempt perhaps to pigeonhole them, some of them refuse to be pigeonholed. It's a shell game. It's a crapshoot. You get what you get. But you're not going to know what you're going to get until you see a series of decisions.
You never know what you're going to get unless you're installing a progressive.
Yes,
because with a progressive, you're going to get
you're talking about
policies.
You're talking about an ideologue.
Yes.
I don't think Gorsuch is an ideologue.
No, absolutely not.
He's an applicator of the law.
But that's my point. You're either going
He's an originalist.
You're either going to get an applicator of the law, you're going to get, or you are going to get a progressive who is there to advance a specific agenda.
Make law.
Right. Which is not the job of the judicial branch.
Just as it wasn't Comey's job to do Loretta Lynch's job as Attorney General, but she wanted him to do that job.
And he did.
Comey's job was to line them up.
Yes.
Gather the facts, assemble it in a package, ship it across the street to the Attorney General. Let the Attorney General make the decision. Comey didn't even allow that to happen.
Nope. Because he's a coward.
And Loretta Lynch was very happy about it because it took that huge elephant off, that political elephant off her back. Gorsuch will be confirmed.
I think, there's no doubt he will be confirmed. It's just a matter of how. And I agree with you. The Democrats are going to be very, very, very stupid to try and filibuster on this one. I mean, we didn't even get to North Korea. Nor did we get to China threatening our B-1 on a training mission over the South China Sea. We didn't get to any. There's a lot we didn't get to.
There is so
Tillerson not ruling out nuclear-capable South Korea or Japan.
That was grand just to listen to. There was I think there's video of a reporter, and this must be the one that you're thinking of the reporter walking up to him and saying, will you roll out X, Y, and Z, and one of the options being a nuclear response? And Tillerson's reply was, I'm not ruling anything out.
Right.
That's an appropriate reply.
Yes.
Why should we?
Yes. And at what point does North Korea reach that level that just you have to deal with them?
The writing was on the wall when about 2 weeks ago we were discussing Japan's decision to actually consider a first strike option against North Korea. Mm-hmm. Considerably, that's an earth-moving and earth-shaking consideration, particularly in light of history and World War II.
Yes.
And Japan's appellation of their military as a defense force.
Well, they weren't even allowed to have that.
No, not for the longest time.
Not for the longest time. Right? No, we are here and we are going to take care of you. Then maybe you can have some folks.
Because all that money was spent
defensive.
by the United States to secure Japan militarily.
Yes.
And then they could spend all the rest of that money, which they did, lovingly so,
Yes.
on bringing back their economy.
Yes.
And holy crap, in the 70s and 80s, did they ever.
Yes, they did.
At one time, Japan owned an assload of the United States.
Which is a technical term, folks. If you're if you can actually Google assload, keep your safe search off, and you're going to get some pretty interesting hits. But if you Google it as a measurement, it's actually quite a large amount.
That's right, but you have to look in the metric side, I think.
Yes, for sure. A lot of that is European.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, my grandfather that fought in World War II, is Pearl Harbor survivor, Guadalcanal, hated the Japanese. My family's from Hawaii.
If
lived in Hawaii, there are Japanese people.
Everywhere.
But and a lot of it, I think, was from World War II and how he saw POWs being treated.
All you have to do is look at any photograph from the Bataan Death March.
Yeah.
And you'll see how we were treated. That's if the American soldiers were allowed to live.
Yeah.
At all.
Oftentimes they were just killed because surrender or capture was a disgrace to them. Do you know that the midget submarines in Pearl Harbor?
Right.
I think there were 5 of them.
Yes. The USS Ward shot one of them.
Yes, that was the first.
That was the first shot in all of World War II on behalf of the United States.
We fired the first shots, scored the first victory.
Yes,
against the Japanese at Pearl Harbor.
Shot him right in the conning tower.
The first victory was ours, and that sub was never found until I think it was like 10 years ago or fairly recently in history. They didn't find it even right then, but everybody swore no, we hit it right through we saw it go down. We saw it hit.
Now that's a destroyer, Captain. Damn it.
Yep. But so yes, we won the first opening skirmish of the Battle of Pearl Harbor, folks.
U.S. 1, Japan 0. Oh shit! There goes the rest of Pearl Harbor.
But if we'd have stopped after the first inning, it would have been okay. So, but there were 5 midget submarines, 2-man crews. None of them made it or were successful, and one washed up on, I think it was at near Bellows, which was on the other side of the island. It was a field.
Did you get him?
No,
son of a.
I feel like Mr. Miyagi over here with my scissor fingers, trying to get this damn bug. But one of them was actually taken as a POW, and in Japan, he was the first POW of the war for us. So we not only won the round 1. But we also took the first POW.
Woohoo!
Right. But again, small victories, right? But in the mural in Japan that celebrated the midget submariners, the brave midget submariners, there were only 9 faces. The man who was taken as a POW was not included in the mural to be honored for the soldiers that lost their life.
Because he allowed himself to be captured.
Because he allowed himself to be captured, and it was disgraced. They had this kind of perverted view of Bushido. This perverted view of what a samurai is and was.
The samurai philosophy was alive and living, quite honestly, at that time.
But it was perverted. It was a perverse view of that samurai philosophy, and if you kind of trace it back. It's kind of interesting to follow up until the feudal lords were united under Tokugawa, under the Tokugawa shogunate, and really kind of then samurai became more of a status than a true fighting force. And some of that Bushido, somewhere along the way between the westernization of Japan and World War II, when they kind of tried to go back to that, there was a perversion.
Don't think I didn't read James Clavell's Shogun, okay? Don't think I didn't see the movie either.
So for a great book, first of all, great
It was
book.
a good book. I started speaking Japanese after I finished.
And a lot of his Asian saga was actually based on historical fact.
Yes.
A lot of it. So the
They're
Toranaga
fun books to read.
the Toranaga figure in Shogun was based on the Tokugawa shogunate.
Yes. And Toranaga burned the boat.
Yes, he did. Over
Down to the waterline.
Yes, he did.
Think of the capriciousness of history, though. I know we got to go here pretty soon. Think of this. Instead of 2 flights, what if Japan had decided that they were going to send 3, perhaps maybe even 4 flights to Pearl Harbor?
So the third strike, they probably would have hit the oil pens,
all of it,
all of the dry docks,
all of it,
not just the Castons and Downs that were in dry dock. They would have hit some more of the infrastructure that was there. Or imagine if the Japanese had stayed around to try and find the carriers,
yes,
because the carriers had sortied. But the third flight would have been very, very devastating. But the Yamamoto thought that the element of surprise had been lost, and he didn't want to lose more folks.
And the other thing is, he didn't know where our carriers were.
Exactly, and that was their main target.
Yes,
that was their primary target.
But that was capricious.
So it was. But here's the other side
that
of that.
We even left.
What if the Americans had sortied? What if they had sortied to go and try and find the fleet? And the carriers would have tried to rendezvous the Yorktown and the Enterprise. It would have been a much worse disaster, because there were several computer programs that kind of drew out this extended battle if we'd have sorted our fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget, it was 80-something% of the time. Don't quote me on that number. A high percentage of the time, we would have lost both carriers and a significant portion of our fleet. In Pearl Harbor, at least, we were able to salvage many of the vehicles, or many of the vessels that had been sunk or destroyed. If we'd have lost them in open water upon sortying, we wouldn't have been able to salvage anything.
Midway hinged on who rearmed the bombs of the aircraft and got them out first. That's the only pivot point of all of Midway.
It was a big game of Battleship where you knew where your opponent's ship was. And it's a matter of who could call A-10 quickest.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Folks, that's it for the Sackheads Radio Show.
Dang, this went
quick. Check on the SHR Media Network. Check us out, home of the Sackheads Radio Show, the exceptional one himself, the exceptional conservative show, The Lid,
and
the Reaver of Common Sense, Southern Sense, the Conservative Syndicate, the Unpleasant Blind Guide,
the Berserk Bobcat Saloon tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. The Aftermath, be there or be rectangular.
Folks, thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure. God bless you, and God bless your week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Shaun and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
Sackheads. Sackheads.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.